Hello and welcome to Odds on Bundesliga, match day 12 after the international break. Another bad one for Germany. Actually, we are back to analyze the Bundesliga, Ronan, and the big news was Urs Fischer getting sacked after the miracles he made with Union Berlin.
Yeah, it was a big surprise, but at the same time, it wasn't a big surprise at all. I suppose he's the man who got them into the Bundesliga. He's the man who got them into the Champions League. So he will always be an Union Berlin kind of legend at the club. But it was the time for him to go because I think he's brought them as far as he could, and nothing seems to be going right for them this year. The kind of we in the past we had seen Union Berlin be a team that was difficult to beat, but this season they were a team that was easy to beat, no matter who the opponents were, whether they were in the Champions League or in the Bundesliga. They just seemed to lose it game after game. So hopefully they can maybe find the proper head coach to take them forward, and we'll see where we go from here.
Well, bottom of the Bundesliga, only 6 points, 9 defeats. So it's time for Fischer to leave. Let's analyze what we have in this new match day in the Bundesliga. Ask any question to Ronan, and of course, press the like and subscribe. And now let's go on with the show. In this international break, by the way, we hit the 24,000 subscriber record. So thanks to everyone for supporting us. And of course, if you want to bet, you have an exclusive offer thanks to Oddspedia. Use our promo code and you can get 130% with 1xBet. Well, Ronan, let's start with the game we have on Friday. Good one. It's always a good one if Bayern are playing in Cologne. In this case, Bayern to win always give us very low odds, especially if they are playing against the penultimate in the standings. 1.27 for Bayern. That could go in the top of the table, could sleep in the top of the table. But if we want to get some money, perhaps again we should go for both teams to score or Bayern to concede goals, because we saw it in the last game against Heidenheim, also conceding 2 goals. Whereas for Cologne, they are getting slightly better, let's say, in the last games. Only 1 defeat in the last 4, but they conceded 6 against Leipzig. So perhaps we can expect a heavy victory for Bayern Munich, of course.
Yeah, I think we can. I think coming out with international break, Bayern don't have any real injury problems. They didn't pick up any major injuries or anything during the international break, so Thomas Tuchel will be happy enough with that. And the way Bayern Munich are playing at the moment, you can see them beating everybody. Obviously not Leverkusen, but everybody else in the Bundesliga, and Cologne definitely should be an easy fixture for them on a Friday evening. Cologne, you've said both teams to score, but I'm not sure. I'm not sold on it because they've only scored 9 goals in 11 games this season. So it's not like they're even averaging a goal a game so far this season. And playing against Bayern Munich isn't a place where you kind of fancy yourself to score a lot of goals. But Bayern Munich, on the other hand, they will expect to score a lot of goals. They have 42 goals so far this season. That's the Bundesliga record for the most ever after 11 matches. So that's the Bayern just seem to be getting goals and goals and goals, and I think that's partly thanks to Harry Kane and Leroy Sané up front. They're the deadliest duo in Europe. They've combined for 7 goals for each other. So Sané has assisted 4 of Kane's goals, and Kane has assisted 3 of Sané's goals. So they seem to be kind of finding that perfect partnership, and Cologne aren't really the team to stop it, because Stefan Baumgart, after his last game, he came out and he said that they'd have to be very lucky. Luck would have to be on their side, but he already has waved the white flag. He said Bayern are too massive for us. So I think we could be in line for one of those massive score lines maybe. And I see Corello is saying -3 Bayern Munich. You wouldn't be surprised if that was to happen. I think there might be value here. There's obviously not any value in betting on Bayern Munich to win, but there could be value in both teams to score. No, 2.38. Bayern clean sheet is 2.4, but I think there's good value in total goals over 2.75. That's 1.99. Bayern Munich to win to 0 could be another option if you're as confident me and Manuel Neuer to keep a clean sheet and Cologne not scoring. That's 2.63. But I think overall I'm looking at Bayern Munich -2 European handicap looks favourable.
Well, Bayern Munich to win heavily in Cologne in the game we have on Friday. I guess we expect this. It's crazy the amount of goals that Bayern are scoring. Around 4 per game. The tally is really high. 17 of them scored by Harry Kane. Hello to Richard from Kingston, Jamaica. I guess Mary from Kenya, Rick from Canada. All over the world following this Bundesliga. Let's try to find better odds. Perhaps in the next one, good one, the clash of Borussias, Dortmund, Gladbach. Dortmund, they dropped to the 5th spot after losing to Stuttgart, also lost to Bayern before that game, and they have their eyes on the Champions League. They have a key game against Milan, and their schedule is very tough. Ronan, after this international break, they have, apart from these two games that are not easy, Gladbach and Milan, then Leverkusen, Stuttgart, and Leipzig. So we will see where the season is going. And Gladbach right now could be an uncomfortable guest in your ground because they are growing in the season. They thrashed Wolfsburg and they scored plenty of goals.
Yeah, I think Gladbach kind of are hitting form at the right time. And I think we're seeing maybe those performances that we saw earlier in the season turn into results, because Gladbach have looked like a good football team at times, but they just weren't picking up results. I think that win against Wolfsburg, everything ticked for them. Their 𝐜𝐭𝐴𝐽, their new coach, it seems like the players are kind of finally getting what he wants them to do, especially off the ball. He has this kind of unique kind of man-marking system and the way they press the opposition, and that will be very difficult for Borussia Dortmund because we haven't seen Borussia Dortmund at their best. We saw Julian Brandt come out after the last game, and he kind of was defending the way the team were. He said that I'd rather play badly and win than shine and lose. But some of the time with Borussia Dortmund or even 𝐜𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐸𝐿, they're playing badly and they're still losing. So it's not like they're one of these teams that are setting up to grind out results. They're just not performing well on the pitch, and it's not turning into results. And a game against Gladbach isn't really a favourable one for Borussia Dortmund heading into this tricky kind of month of games. I think it's going to be difficult for them coming out of the international break. And the only thing in this one, it could be, if you're tuning into one of the afternoon games, this definitely could be the one to watch. I expect lots of goals here. The most common result in the past is obviously 2-1 to Dortmund, and the two games last season, the home team won both of them 5-2, 4-2. So there was lots of goals last season. Both teams to score 1.5 looks good for this one. But I think looking at Borussia Dortmund so far this season, I've been disappointed with them. I've been impressed with Gladbach at times, and I've been waiting for those good performances to turn into results. And I think this could be another one where they might be able to pull something out of the bag. A draw is on the screen there, 5.6 looks good. Gladbach Asian handicap 0, 4.45 looks like another option if Gladbach can get something. But I think if you want to play it a bit safer, Gladbach plus 1.25 on the Asian handicap could be good value here, because I think they can get a result.
Very good value going for Gladbach, to favorite Dortmund, and they are not showing a lot of strength lately. It's only 1.5. If you are backing Dortmund, the goals could be a good idea for Gladbach. 23 goals scored, 23 conceded. So we are seeing a lot of goals in the games lately, especially when they play away. So for sure, it's going to be an entertaining one. Next game is Freiburg Darmstadt. Freiburg should win this one and get closer to the European spots, but they are not getting good results lately, especially because they are conceding far too many goals. This season, 22, only one victory in the last 5 games. But again, against Darmstadt, they have to win here.
Yeah, but the thing about Freiburg conceding goals, they've conceded 22, but Darmstadt have conceded 32. So these are not teams with good defenses. So you would expect an open game based on that. But these are also teams that don't have good attacks either. So that could be a kind of a difficult one for either team to rack up a lot of goals. They've only scored 14 goals each, so that's just over 1 goal a game. It's not great. In Darmstadt, they've only scored once in the last 3 games. That was in a 2-1 loss to Bochum. And they drew 0-0 against Mainz last time, and they were happy enough, I think, with that result. Whereas Freiburg, I think that before the international break, their fixtures were tough. They played against Leverkusen and Leipzig. They were able to score in both those games. Obviously, they lost, but it's no shame for a team like Freiburg losing to teams like Leverkusen and Leipzig, especially the way Leverkusen are playing at the moment. But I think this could be a low-scoring game because neither team has really found their feet up front. So total goals under 2.5 is 2.33. That could be an option. Mm-hmm. And 𝐿𝐴 there, Freiburg should win this one at home. I'm backing them, and so am I. That's my tip for this one, Freiburg to win.
Yeah, 1.6, good enough, actually, even to put it perhaps in an ACCA. Next game is Union Berlin-Augsburg, a new era for Union Berlin, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, with Urs Fischer sacked because the results were so bad. 9 consecutive defeats in the Bundesliga, also out of the Champions League, and they are hosting now Augsburg in the middle of the table for undefeated games. Perhaps the odds to back Union Berlin, Ronan, are too low, no? If we check the latest results between of these two games, two teams, I mean, this could be easily a draw, or Augsburg could get something from Berlin.
They could, and the only thing is you might get a new manager bounce, as they say, from Union Berlin. Obviously, they haven't appointed a permanent manager yet, so they only have a temporary coach, but we've seen how a change in manager can change a team's fortunes, because Augsburg, they changed their manager during the last international break, and yes, Torp came in and he hasn't lost since. 3 wins and 2 draws, so he really has turned things around for Augsburg, and they've been moving up the table, and they kind of have found their feet under him, whereas the only thing with Union Berlin, we have to see what this kind of post-Urs Fischer world will look like. Like you said, a draw definitely looks like a good one here. The most common result in this one is a 0-0. The last 14 meetings, 6 of those have been draws. So this kind of has a draw written all over it. Augsburg win 4.0 or 4.2. It's even stretched out to there on the screen. Augsburg, Asian handicap 0 is just under 3. There might be value in them, but I think this one, like you said, it kind of has draw written all over it. So a draw at 3.8 looks very favourable odds in this one.
Indeed, 𝐿𝐴 is asking you if you see Union Berlin scoring here.
Yeah, I think they could. I think the Augsburg and Union Berlin, they don't have brilliant defences. So I think Union Berlin, under the kind of the new coach or the temporary coach, they will be looking to put their names down. The players will be trying to show the new guys in charge what they can do. So they will kind of maybe raise their game, as we've seen with many teams when they change managers. So I think Union Berlin will score here. So that could be another one to look for both teams to score, especially if I'm predicting it to be a draw.
Well, in the next game, I guess we all expect goals, because we have Leverkusen traveling to Bremen. Werder Bremen in the middle of the table, 2 consecutive draws against Frankfurt and Wolfsburg, but Leverkusen on fire. As we know, 12 consecutive victories in all competitions, and after this game, they have Dortmund and Stuttgart, so a tough schedule now for Xabi Alonso's men.
Yeah, it is. You would think so, but I suppose we thought some of the fixtures earlier in the season were tough for them, but they were able to get a point against Bayern Munich, and they possibly should have beaten that one. So for other teams, maybe that might be a tough schedule, but the way Xabi Alonso's team are playing at the moment, perhaps it's not. So I think Xabi Alonso will want to obviously keep this run going. It's the joint best start in Bundesliga history, 31 points from 11 games. That's the same as Pep Guardiola got in 2015-16. So he keeps setting records, and I think the way he has the players playing, they are all getting involved in goals. It's not just a one-man team, perhaps like teams we've seen kind of challenge Bayern Munich in the past. This is a team where goals are being provided and goals are being scored from all over the pitch. Florian Wirtz has the most Bundesliga assists this year, 18, and the second on that list is his teammate Jeremy Frimpong. So Bayer Leverkusen are getting assists from everywhere. Jonas Hoffmann as well. He's been one of the most productive players in the league this year. He has 24 goals or 24 goal involvements. That's 14 goals and 10 assists. And if you take Harry Kane in all competitions from his time at Spurs and Bayern Munich, he's only been involved in 28 goals. So Jonas Hoffmann is kind of just as or nearly as productive as Harry Kane. So you're getting players maybe that aren't heralded, like a Boniface or a Florian Wirtz. You're getting players being involved all over the pitch in goals, and that's thanks to the way Xabi Alonso is coaching this team. I think it's going to be hard to stop Leverkusen doing anything. I think Bayer Leverkusen to win 1.5 looks good enough. Away might be a better option, obviously, because you would think that Bayer Leverkusen could score early and then hold on to win for the game. That's 2.15. But I think this one, it could be an open game. Obviously, Bayer Leverkusen pushing for goals. They don't really take the foot off the gas. So I think both teams to score yes here is a good tip.
All right, let's see if Leverkusen, they can keep dreaming with the title. By the way, Leverkusen to win the Bundesliga pays 4 right now. If you are brave enough, perhaps you can put a long-term bet and back Leverkusen to win the Bundesliga and end this Bayern Munich era. Well, next game, a good one as well. Wolfsburg, Leipzig. Leipzig to win is 1.9, but it might be a bit tricky. We saw them losing to Mainz away recently, and beating Wolfsburg at home shouldn't be easy. Only one defeat at home for Wolfsburg this season was against Leverkusen, but it's also true, Ronan, that they are not in great form. In the last 5 games, only 1 point.
Yeah, and going into the international break, they lost 4-0, obviously, like we said, to Gladbach. So the international break came at the right time for Wolfsburg. So obviously, like some other teams, they don't have as many players going off in international duty, so that allows them to kind of stay together, to stay fit, to avoid injuries. So that will be a boost, the fact the international break came at the right time. But I think Leipzig, they'll be looking to bounce back themselves, obviously, like you said, with the disappointing result before the break. And luckily for them, their players have stayed fit through the international break. And I like the look of Xavi Simons getting something in this game. He's the leader in the Bundesliga for scoring and assisting in the same game 4 times this season. He's done that. So if he gets an assist early on or something in this one, make sure to back on him to add a goal to that tally, because he looks very good. And I saw him against Ireland over the weekend, and he looked too good for any Ireland player, and helped knock us out of the Euros and helped Netherlands qualify. So he'll be obviously in great form heading back to the Leipzig camp. Wolfsburg, this one I think could be a one with lots of goals. Over 2.5 goals in Wolfsburg's game so far. They've hit it 69% of times, Leipzig 76% of times. So total goals over 2.5 looks like a good one here, 1.57. Total goals over 1.5 in the first half is 2.37. So there could be lots of goals early, and there could be lots of goals throughout this one. So this is another one to keep an eye on, or maybe watch the highlights later on Bundesliga's version of Match of the Day. Could be one to keep an eye out for. Yeah, but for this one overall, I think the odds look great for Leipzig to win. They've actually stretched out a bit. They're getting closer to 2. So I think Leipzig to win looks like just a good punt to just go straight for Leipzig win.
Well, Corello is telling us the same, that the odds for Leipzig to win are not bad at all. But we have also Desta going, for instance, for Wolfsburg, or Wolfsburg double chance. Leipzig, well, they are in the Champions League, but they are already qualified for the next round. And on Saturday, we have really good games in this Saturday in the Bundesliga. The last game is Eintracht Frankfurt, Stuttgart, one of the surprises of this Bundesliga. Stuttgart last season fighting against relegation, now in the 3rd spot with Guirassy still scoring goals. 15 goals. They were able to beat Dortmund, bouncing back from the defeats against Heidenheim and Hoffenheim, whereas Frankfurt, Ronan, we left them improving in the season. They started really slow, but they got 3 victories and 2 draws in the last 5 games.
Yeah, I think we kind of expected that from Frankfurt once they found their feet, that they would start to improve. But obviously Stuttgart, they've been hugely boosted by the return of Guirassy. He came off the bench to score a penalty in the last game, and that was enough to give them a 2-1 win over Dortmund after Furic had his saved. And that kind of was a quirky stat for Dortmund. I probably should have mentioned it when we were talking about Dortmund, but it was their first penalty save in the Bundesliga in 10 years, which is kind of crazy to think that they haven't been able to save any penalties. But they definitely weren't able to save Guirassy's penalty. That took him to 15 goals for the season, so he's keeping tabs with Kane in the top scorer race. He's closing in on equaling last season's top scorer, which was 𝐿𝐭𝐿 and Füllkrug with 16 goals each. So he's definitely going to eclipse that, and you could see him getting another goal or 2 here this weekend. In Stuttgart, form and history are both on their side here. They have a good away record in Frankfurt in the last 23 meetings. Both of the teams have 9 wins. So Stuttgart are good at going to Frankfurt. They've outscored Frankfurt even 41 goals to 32 in those meetings. So you would think that they should have enough about them here. They have yet to draw this season. So if they're not going to win, they're going to lose. So I'd be more confident Stuttgart winning this one. Both teams score yes here. Looks good. 1.61. Correct score if you really want to go out on a limb. 2-1 to Stuttgart is 10 if you want to put money there. But I think Stuttgart win. It looks good here. 2.7 looks good for an away team win. And Stuttgart with Guirassy to play from the start, they should be a much better team.
Great game, this one to finish or to end the Saturday games. In the Bundesliga for Sunday, we have 2 more games, not really appealing, to be honest. Heidenheim, Bochum is the first one. Heidenheim 3 points above Mainz, 4 defeats in the last 5 games. They only beat Stuttgart. By the way, whereas Bochum 2 points away from relegation. This is the kind of game that I like to bet on draws, to be honest.
This is the type of game that you'd probably turn off your television, to be honest. I'd say it seems like one. It seems like what it does. Hopefully there'll be something else worth watching on Sunday, because I think with all the good teams, the top teams playing in Europe during the week, we're kind of left with this sort of a game on a Sunday. But you never know. There could be plenty. There could be plenty of goals in it. But the history of both teams this season, the form of both teams would not indicate that this is going to be a high-scoring one. Bochum are only averaging a goal a game. Heidenheim are 1.5 goals a game. They concede obviously a lot more than they score, but they still aren't really selling this one as one to watch for the neutrals this weekend. Both teams to score no is 2.5. That could be an option. Heidenheim, Asian handicap 0, 1.69 is good as well, but I think straight Heidenheim win here could be just the way to go, because there isn't a lot to look forward to about this one as a spectacle, but you could make money on maybe betting on Heidenheim to win, because Bochum have only won once this season, and I don't think they're going to add to it here.
Well, 2 teams that should fight to avoid relegation until the end. James has been making money off Bochum draws, he's telling us, but he says also that Heidenheim sucks. Well, there are worse teams in Bundesliga so far. They are in spot number 13 right now in the standings, 3 points away from Mainz. So for being a newly promoted team, I think they are doing the things pretty well. And next game and last game is Hoffenheim Mainz. You said before that you liked both teams to score here. Hoffenheim, they still keep a great record with both teams to score. 10 out of 11 games this season ended in both teams to score, and they are also the favorites to win this game against Mainz, that they are in the bottom 3 right now, but they are improving lately, getting better and better results. Only 1 defeat in the last 5 games, fighting to get out of these poor results and the bottom of the table.
Yeah, I think Mainz are trying everything, but obviously they have an injury to 𝐜𝐴𝐴𝐴, and he's missing for the rest of the year, so he's not going to be back until the new year. So that could be a big blow for them. I think Hoffenheim, their players on their hand, they seem to be hitting form at the right time. Wout Weghorst is even hitting form at the right time. We talked about him before the break, but then he went and scored again during the international break. He scored against Ireland to send Netherlands to the Euros. So that kind of broke my heart. But we weren't going to qualify anyway, so it's not the end of the world. Onwards and upwards for Ireland in 2024. Hopefully, things can only get better. But Hoffenheim, I think this one. They won the same fixture 4-1 last season, so they are a better team on paper. They've been a better team here in the past, and they're a better team going into the match. They're averaging 2.1 goals a game, whereas Mainz are only averaging 1. 2-1 could obviously be a good option here. Hoffenheim, Asian handicap 0, 1.46. I don't fancy Mainz to get a win, obviously, but I think Hoffenheim as a straight win for 2 looks like a good bet here.
They've been very poor playing at home this season. Hoffenheim only one victory in the Rhein-Neckar Arena, and they are actually the worst team playing at home together with Union Berlin. This season for Almas, this is both teams to score an over 2.5 goals. Can't trust Mainz at all. Indeed, the Mainz, they've been very poor. Also this season, well, this is it. Ronan, which one is your preferred bet for this match day?
Yeah, my safe bet here, like every other week, Bayer Leverkusen to win.
Yeah, also, well, the odds are not bad actually for Bayer Leverkusen to win. 1.5, I think, is great. And your ACCA?
For my ACCA this week, I'm going for goals. I'm going to go for over 2.5 goals in 4 different games. I think this could be a great week for watching the Bundesliga. So it could be a great week for goals. So Cologne, Bayern over 2.5 goals, Dortmund and Gladbach over 2.5 goals, Bremen, Leverkusen over 2.5 goals, and Wolfsburg, Leipzig over 2.5 goals. So expect loads of goals.
Well, I was checking the stats we have in the Bundesliga, Ronan, about over 2.5 goals. And for instance, Leverkusen and Bayern Munich scored in their games. There were always over 2.5 goals. In Gladbach, 10 out of 11. Hoffenheim, Darmstadt, and Stuttgart, 9 out of 11. So the chances to get your ACCA right are very high, considering the stats we have in the Bundesliga this season with a lot of goals. Usually is one of the competitions or the competition in the top 5 leagues in Europe with more goals. So all the best. Thanks, Ronan. See you next week. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.